What's up, YouTube? On today's segment of Vernacular TV, I would like to have a discussion about some of the subject matters that I would discuss on the Joe Rogan show, the Joe Rogan podcast. On the Joe Rogan Experience, episode 1848, as Joe Rogan and his guests, Constantine Kissing and Francis Foster, as they discuss many cultural matter that is going on in our times. The conversation on trafficking and abuse. They discuss about Jeffrey Epstein, trafficking and human trafficking and abuse. You know, they also got Ghislaine Maxwell. And, you know, we are in the times of the Me Too, of the times of the feminist movement. So different conversation is taking place. Women are gaining their rightful place that they need to be within the societal discourse on equality, you know, gender, sex, and sexuality. All these conversations being had. But Joe Rogan and his guests, Constantine Kissing and Francis Foster, they discuss many subject matter on that episode of 1848. The Joe Rogan Experience. Joe Rogan stated, why isn't everybody freaking out about the crimes of the Vatican and those bishops that have molested children, thousands of children, over the course of the last half a century? Why everybody not up in awe with the crimes of the Vatican? That is a strong thing to say coming from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is a controversial figure. His stance on the COVID vaccine. He also have controversy of calling black people niggas. So he got different layers to who he is. But as we dissect the mere fact that he can bring forward that discussion about the church, the Vatican. He said the Vatican is a mini state of pedophiles and stolen art. As an African, I know the Vatican is a place of stolen art because during European colonization and imperialism, they plunder all around the world. So that in its essence is a fact. But he talked about the pedophilia of the Vatican. Recently, Pope Francis was in Canada to apologize to the indigenous people for the crimes that the church committed against the indigenous people, removing indigenous children from their family, systemically molesting and abusing them. The Pope was in Canada to apologize to the indigenous people of that land for the crimes that was committed by the church in the Canadian residential school program. In 2015, the Canadian Truth and Reconciliation Committee found that what the church did amounted to cultural genocide. So yes, you know, Joe Rogan bringing forward these discussions, these ideas on his podcast, it's a great thing. Talking about the Catholic Church, a place of pedophilia and stolen art. We see the government always hiding things, you know, even with the Jeffrey Epstein situation. Where are the co-conspirators with Jeffrey Epstein? What are the people he was trafficking these girls to? Even with the Ghislaine Maxwell, the MMA fighter, Israel Adesanya, he's asking the question himself. He said, where are the people that these girls and these kids were trafficked to? Where are the people? As we all know that it was released in the news, allegations that many of Jeffrey Epstein clientele was former president, kings, you know, celebrities. So, you know, the government ain't gonna tell us. The same case go with the singer R. Kelly. The government charged him with human trafficking, with trafficking on those girls. Where are his co-conspirators as he stood in court alone and being prosecuted and being sent to jail, you know, for a long period of time? Who were Ghislaine Maxwell trafficking those girls to, those children to? Who were Jeffrey Epstein trafficking those on kids and girls to? You understand? But it's glad that Joe Rogan, you know, can bring forward these type of discussion in the modern discourse of our time. politically and socially and culturally. These conversations needs to be had about the role of the Catholic Church and the crimes against humanity that the church have committed against many people around the world during European colonization and imperial stage, and plundering places. These are the ideas of white supremacy. You take these indigenous kids out of their element and try to give them the Bible teaching. You try to Christianize them. You understand? Why abusing them, sexually abusing them. So there's a very important thing that Joe Rogan had this discussion on his episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, episode 1848. You should check it out. As Joe Rogan and his host, Konstantin Kissing and Francis Foster, as they have these conversations that is very important to the discourse of our time. Francis Foster raised the idea that the Vatican was a place up to 2013. The age of consent was 13 years old. We never knew that. But these conversations need to be had in these times.